Hey guys, it's Archon, and I just wanted to give you a quick overview of all the heroes in Marvel Heroes. This way, when you're going to choose your character, you'll have a little bit of information about each one so you can make a good decision. I've played most of the characters so far, however I haven't played all of them, but I'll tell you what I do know about all of them. And keep in mind, the game did just come out. This is June 2nd right now that I'm making this video, so some of these characters might be nerfed or buffed accordingly, but I'll tell you where they're at in the current state of the game on June 2nd. So we'll just start at the top of the list here. It's in alphabetical order, and I'll go through and tell you what I think about each hero. Black Panther's the first one up here. He's a melee hero. He's actually probably my favorite melee hero as far as gameplay goes. Probably not one of the most powerful characters, but powerful enough, and he's really fun. He has attacks so he can jump behind enemies, knock them into the air. He has some good single target damage and crowd control. Really fun to play, and also has some of the coolest looking costumes. Next up we have Black Widow. She's a pretty moderate character, not one of the most powerful, but she has a few attacks that do some really good AoE damage. She's listed here as melee, but she also has some good ranged attacks, so you can kind of choose to play her either way. She did have a movement ability that was kind of exploitable, but I think they fixed that since then. Next up is Cable. Cable was super powerful until they nerfed him right before the game came out, but he's still powerful enough and has a lot of utility. Probably his biggest utility is a shield that deflects projectiles, and anyone can just stand close to him and they can't get hit by projectiles, which is really nice. He also has a couple auras which help nearby nearby allies, and he has a few crowd control spells as well. So a lot of utility for a group and decent damage. Captain America probably has the best group buffs in the game and also can dish out a good amount of damage. He doesn't have a ton of AoE. Most of his damage probably comes from his shield throw, which is just bounce between enemies over and over again, doing a lot of damage on each bounce. But his shouts create an aura and a temporary buff that can be really powerful. The most popular is probably his movement speed, attack speed buff, and so he's just a great person to have in the group. He's also pretty tanky, definitely one of the most powerful characters. Colossus is also very powerful. Colossus is more of a tank, but he does have some buffs that he can give nearby party members, and he still does a lot of damage. I think Colossus is definitely in the top 5 most powerful characters right now. They also give him a whirlwind build, so if you're a D3 fan, you like the whirlwind barb, you can whirlwind on Colossus. He actually does some pretty good damage and great survivability. Good person to have on your team. Cyclops. Cyclops is most known for his ability that gives nearby party members as well as himself additional experience per kill. And when people hear he gives experience per kill, the first assumption is, well, you're just going to have a Cyclops in your group if you want to level quickly. And that was kind of our first thought, and we did have a Cyclops in our group. However, it's not a big enough increase to experience that you need to have it. It's going to help you moderately, but it's not a game changer. Most of the abilities that affect nearby party members have a pretty small range, so you have to be really close to them, and then the amount of extra experience you get is almost negligible. I mean, it's going to help. I don't want to downsize it too much, but just don't feel like you need a Cyclops. But that probably is his biggest utility. They have buffed his range damage since beta, and he does pretty good range damage as well. He starts off weak, but in the higher levels he'll become pretty strong, and that's true for a lot of range characters. Daredevil. Daredevil's really fun. Maybe not one of the most powerful characters, but I would say the best character that is a melee ranged hybrid. He just feels really good when you're playing him. He's a lot of fun, a lot different than other characters, but definitely not one of the most popular characters. Deadpool is very popular, but I think mostly because of the comic books. He starts out really weak. Later on, he gets balanced, I would say. I don't think he's one of the more overpowered characters, but he does do well at higher levels, and he also has the ability to give buffs. He can just drop items on the ground, and players can walk over them to get buffs. Also increases how big they are, and he's a very funny character if you want someone with some nice funny lines. Emma Frost, not in the game yet. Hawkeye probably has the best basic attack in the game. He can do some crazy damage with his basic attack if you put your points into archery. You could also put your points into other attacks like explosive arrow or gas bomb. But I think the best way to play him right now is probably to put your points into archery, because you can do a ton of damage without spending any spirit, and then you could use your spirit for tumble to get around, or taser arrow to crowd control people. He doesn't have a lot of utility and no group buffs unless they've added them recently, but if you just want like a very simple character that's not going to have a lot of skills and can do a lot of damage without having to monitor spirit, Hawkeye's a great character. His single arrow attack, double arrow attack, and triple arrow attack are all really powerful, just because all the points in archery go to buff his basic attack. He's also one of the starter characters. Hulk. Hulk is likely the most overpowered character in the game right now. Some people will disagree with that, but of the high level players right now, a large percentage of them are playing Hulk, and because of some experience glitch, solo play might be the way to go right now. However, this is June 2nd. It's likely fixed in the near future, so it might be fixed by the time you're watching this video. But Hulk just does a ton of AoE damage. He has mediocre single target damage, but also good defense. He's not much of a team player, but if you're going to play solo or you just want to be really powerful, Hulk's the way to go. But then again, any of these characters could get nerfed, and I would expect a nerf on Hulk at some point. Human Torch not in the game yet. Iron Man, one of the most popular characters, but probably a lot because of the movies. He does do really good single target damage and has some good shields, which make him pretty defensive. He has some decent utility, but he's mostly there to just plow down single targets and has some pretty good defense. Jean Grey is mostly played in Phoenix form. If you're familiar with Diablo 3, Phoenix form is a lot like Archon form for wizards. She just stays in this giant phoenix. As long as she's doing enough damage, she can stay in that form indefinitely. At earlier levels, it's hard to stay in it, but at higher levels, you can pretty much stay in it all the time. She does have other builds that they're trying to promote more, but pretty much people playing Jean Grey are doing the Phoenix form build, and it's pretty powerful. Has some good damage and survivability. Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel wasn't my favorite character. In fact, she was probably the least favorite character I played. However, a lot of people really like her, so she's probably just not for my playstyle. She's a mix of melee and range, even though it has her listed as melee here. She has really good single target DPS and really good defenses. She can be a bit of a tank, however, not great AoE. If you like melee ranged hybrid, she might be a good character for you. Nova's not in the game yet. Punisher starts out really weak and never gets super powerful. He's probably one of the less popular characters right now. Some people do really like his playstyle, but if you're looking for someone powerful, I wouldn't go with Punisher. However, he might get buffed in the future. Just keep in mind, if you do play him, he's going to start off really weak. Rocket Raccoon, that's who I've been playing as recently. He has a good amount of utility. He has turrets that can tank and do other effects for your party. He has a shield that's really strong, but it's just a personal shield for him. It can absorb between 40 and 60% of the damage done to you based on how many points you put into it, and it's unlike Cable's shield, which is on a timer. Rocket Raccoon's shield takes a certain amount of damage before it gets removed. You can pretty much just keep it up all the time. Some people might prefer Cable's shield because it just lasts a certain amount of time regardless of how much damage you take. Rocket Raccoon's shield I like more though, because it's just always worth it to have it on. There's no timer on it, so you might as well put it on anytime it's not on, and then once it runs out, put it back on, and you're just always taking half damage, which is really nice. But probably Rocket Raccoon's best ability, definitely his best ability, is his BFG, Big Flarkin' Gun. It's the last skill in his first tree, I believe, and it must be bugged right now because it does ridiculous damage. As far as I know, it's the highest damage ability, period, and it also does an AoE. Now, I think Hulk did have one higher damage one, but they have taken it out of the game temporarily while they're fixing it. I'm guessing they're going to fix Rocket Raccoon's BFG, but I can't say for sure. It definitely does more damage than the tooltip says it does, but that's probably his biggest utility right now, is just doing a ton of damage with that spell, and it is a lot of fun while it lasts. Overall, though, he's very similar to Iron Man. He's a fun character, offers some good utility, and has decent damage. Scarlet Witch probably has the best AoE in the game. She's also one of the starter characters. Her defense is fine, but she's mostly there for AoE. She's a ranged character. Spider-Man you could play as either melee or ranged. He's probably not worth playing as a melee ranged hybrid, but he does have the ability to get very high dodge chance, and so a lot of people use him as a dodge tank. However, you have to be careful because dodge isn't a consistent way to tank. We have someone playing Spider-Man in our group, and he still gets one shot a lot. But that is how most people play him with dodge. If you go ranged, he has this corrosive web fluid that makes it so all of his web attacks put a dot on the enemy, which can be really powerful. Overall, a really versatile player. Really, definitely one of the more powerful ones. He has some good utility as well, as he can slow and stun enemies. Yeah, I would suggest playing him. He's one of the more powerful characters. Squirrel Girl, not in the game yet. Storm, one of the starting characters, is also very strong. You can focus her wind attacks or on her lightning attacks. If you're playing in a group, I would go lightning. If you're playing solo, I would go wind. The reason is your wind attacks are going to do mostly knockback, which can be really annoying for other party members. However, it's good for survivability. And the lightning attacks stun, and stun is great for party members. Her AoE stun lightning ability is just phenomenal. I think you can keep a small group of enemies stun locked and do decent damage, and you can just spam it if you have enough spirit and spirit regen. Definitely one of the more powerful characters. Thing is mostly a tank. His damage is mediocre. He can buff nearby allies. Really good utility character, good support class for your group. However, solo play might not be the best. If you're in a solo mode, you might want to go Hulk. And to be honest, I think Colossus is just more powerful than Thing right now. But they might buff Thing or nerf Colossus. But Thing is a good support class. Thor, definitely one of the most powerful characters. He's melee. He does have some range skills, but it just doesn't seem like they're worth it. He's definitely a melee character, has good AoE, good defense, and just overall does a ton of damage. Definitely one of the more popular characters. Wolverine, not that popular right now. I think most people playing Wolverine probably like Wolverine from the comics, that is. His damage is just mediocre. He can take quite a beating and has a lot of mobility. Some people will swear by Wolverine, so I know I'm going to get some hate for that, but I think he just needs a little bit of a damage increase. He's not quite where he should be. But yeah, those are all the characters. That's what I know about them, what I can tell you about them, and hopefully that will help you guys make a decision as to which character you want to play first. Keep in mind you get to choose one of the 5 starter characters when you first open the game. That's Hawkeye, Storm, Scarlet Witch, Thing, and Daredevil. And then after you beat the first quest, you'll randomly get one more of the starter heroes. The rest of the heroes are found throughout the game, however they don't drop that often. I played for about 40 hours before my first one dropped, however I think I did get a little unlucky. You can also purchase heroes for, I think it's $5 to $20 per hero, depending on the popularity of the hero. So hopefully this video will help you guys decide what heroes to choose from your starter heroes and what heroes to buy. I'm definitely going to have more videos coming up about Marvel heroes, so please hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.